Okay, we are recording, and give me just a moment to find Miss Corey Bix.
Hi, everybody.
Right, so I will hand it over right now to Miss Corey Bix, my friend that works at the United Way of Union County, and I'll let you talk a little bit about what United Way is about while I continue to catch my breath and get my paint ready.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Corey Bix. I'm the director of the United Way of Union County, and we're so thankful to Miss Shauna Sue at Crooked Door. A lot of our events, as everyone's found, have not been able to, we've not been able to have a lot of our events like our annual 5K and quarter marathon. I know Christina McDermott, my race director for that, is on this call or on this painting Zoom tonight. So thankful to have her here. And that's our big event every year. We do this big 5K quarter marathon and put a lot of time and work into it. And unfortunately this year we actually had to cancel it. And that was, that's sad because that's one of the ways that we make money for our 26 partner agencies. We have 26 local partner agencies that we fundraise on behalf of. Some of those include Union County Neighbor to Neighbor. We have Tessa Fight on here tonight. She's from Union County Neighbor to Neighbor. That is essentially, it is just what it says it is. They are a group of volunteers who are vetted, who go in and help folks do just kind of everyday tasks, maybe picking up groceries or helping with some light cleaning, that sort of thing, kind of allowing maybe some older folks or disabled folks to continue to stay in their home. So that's one of our wonderful agencies. We, of course, fund Big Brothers Big Sisters of Union County, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Those are some of our childhood and youth success agencies that we fund. Access to Health, we have the Union County Health Department, which Miss Shauna Sue works for. That is the prescription program. So that's a way for folks who can't normally get their prescriptions for them to have some assistance in order to help pay for their prescriptions, which obviously we know with things like COVID is very important right now, that people be able to get their meds and safely. For example, someone might use the prescription program and then someone from Neighbor to Neighbor might help deliver that prescription. So we're all about health and human services. We also fund the Salvation Army, who has the homeless prevention program. We have a lot of food pantries. A lot of these folks who work and volunteer in our local partner agencies, they were all the ones who continued to work on the front lines during the pandemic and figured out a way to continue to serve their clients and help folks. And of course, we know through COVID, there were a lot of people who unexpectedly found themselves needing help with rent money, needing help with finding food, maybe even needing help finding shelter. Folks who had worked in the service industry or like the restaurant industry. Maybe mom works in a hair salon, dad works at not a grocery store, but a restaurant, and found themselves both out of work. People who had never had to ask for help before, and it was our agencies who were on the front lines helping those folks, giving a hand up, not a handout. So all the money raised, local. United Way of Union County, it is independent. We are, yes, we are a member of United Way Worldwide, but all that money stays local. Lots of good info on our website. And I'm just so grateful for Ms. Shauna Sue and this fundraiser tonight. So thank you. I think you're still muted, babe.
You missed my glorious thank you speech.
Oh, you know what? You did it with your body language.
I usually do.
You do. I love it. I love it. Me too. Me too. I'm ready to paint.
Thank you. Let's paint, right?
Right.
Thank you, Corey Bix, and thank you for everything that United Way does for Union County. It's huge. Like Corey said, I work at the Union County Health Department. I also contract with Mental Health Recovery of Union County. I see it. I see it every day. I see the help that the United Way of Union County provides to the people that most need it here in our own county. So thank you, Ms. Bix. I love you. I'm so glad we can here and paint tonight.
And then do you want to talk about what you're doing at the end of the month, or is that there's more to come?
Okay, so So another thing that we're doing, just because we're looking for ways to raise money, right? The studio, I'm incredibly fortunate. I have not lost my jobs, the plural. I'm doing okay. My husband and I are both doing okay. The studio, through this whole pandemic, you guys have all made sure that the studio has been able to support itself. So when we get to that point, we do everything we can to try to give back into our own community. So this is part of that. Another part of that is we're doing Create Boo United mask auction. I love Halloween. If you know me, you know this is my time of year. This is my jam. And I thought if we all have to wear these masks, I'm not going to say ridiculous because they have a purpose. I get it. I work at the health department. I know we have to wear the masks. We should be able to have a little bit of fun with it. So we have artists coming into the studio over the next several weeks creating masks. Some of them will be functional. Some of them will be completely ridiculous. Some of them will be Halloween. Some of them will be, I don't even know. But my artists have a lot, they're going to have a lot of fun with this. And then on Halloween, we're going to do a 24-hour auction and auction off everything, all those masks that are created, and all of that money will go to benefit the United Way. So watch for that. We're getting ready to create an event on Facebook for it, so you can watch, and there are going to be some really cool masks. I've heard tell of masks that are like bedazzled, masks that are painted. There might be a little Bob Ross inspired mask painting, maybe. There could be some embroidered masks. We'll see what happens. So watch for that coming. That's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? Oh, again, I feel the need to take a big deep breath. Let it all out, okay? Stretch it, get those shoulders moving. Okay, so first things first, welcome to Painting Through the Pandemic. We've been doing this we've been doing virtual paint classes since mid-March when the pandemic started. This month, I'm starting to ease back into a couple private parties at the studio. Truth be told, that's why I was running a little late getting here tonight, because I had my first private party back at the studio. So we're kind of testing the waters to see how that goes. So fingers crossed, but we will continue to do this. With that said, I'm also recording tonight. The studio has its own YouTube channel. So when class is over, I will take the recording, rural internet, it sometimes takes a little bit, but I'll take this recording and I'll put it up on our YouTube channel. So if things start to go sideways, if you start to get frustrated, if it's just not your night to paint, that's okay. Put your brushes down, clean up, set back, just kind of sit and hang with everybody else, watch everybody else paint, knowing that you can come back to the video later. It's usually posted sometime Sunday. Well, this is Friday, so it'll be posted sometime tomorrow, sometime Saturday, and you'll be able to access it anytime after that on the studio's YouTube channel. Okay, so take a moment and check out, for those of you that haven't joined us before here, you'll see, I feel the need to let you know, you'll see me looking off to the side quite a bit. It's because I have my laptop set up. I'm recording with my phone, but I have my laptop set up off to the side so I can see everyone in gallery view. So I have the chat box open as well. I can see what's going on over there. If you have any questions, because I have you all muted so we don't get a lot of weird electronic feedback. Sometimes that happens with the microphones. So I have you all muted. If you have questions, pop them in the chat box. I will try to keep an eye on that randomly throughout the evening. What else? I think that's it. All right, let's do this. So the first thing I want to do is talk about supplies. If we were at the studio all together, I would have everything laid out for you. But since we're painting at home on our own, I like to go through supplies pretty slowly, pretty methodically, so you can make sure you have everything you need before we get started. If you don't have something that I have, don't worry, we'll wing it. It'll be fine, okay? I usually worry about color mixing and because we're all using paint from different places. Not worried about color mixing tonight. We'll be fine. I reference poop a lot. Not worried about poop tonight. We'll be fine with what we're doing. Okay, so first things first, the paint that I'm using, and the paint, if you got paint from the studio, the paint you're using is acrylic paint. It's water-based, water-soluble. If you get it on your clothes and it dries, it won't come out. It's a bear to get out. You can get it out if you try, but it's a real bear. So make sure you have either an apron or an old shirt on. I probably should have changed my shirt. I might disappear and go change my shirt, because even though I have an apron, I am real bad about getting paint like on my shoulders. I know that sounds weird, but I have a real bad habit. If I'm doing something, I'll put a brush in my mouth and I'll turn my head and I'll block my shoulder with my brush, with my dirty brush. So let's take a minute, think about what you have on, make sure that you have on old paint clothes, and look around your area. It's really easy when we're painting with acrylic paint to flick off the edge of your canvas. So I always want to check my surroundings and make sure I don't have anything in the way that I'm going to get paint on, okay? I have our inspiration picture here tonight. So this is not my picture, this is not my painting, and it says I put it down at the bottom. This is for inspiration only, but this is to say that this is just our inspiration. Mine won't look like this because this isn't my painting. Yours may not look like this. That's okay. We're gonna go with how this makes us feel tonight, right? I'll try to get pretty close to what's happening here, but if yours isn't turning out like this, isn't turning out like mine, it's okay. That's what art's about. It's all different, right? We all have our own interpretation, but this is the direction I'm gonna try and go. I have a canvas. The canvas that I have is a 16 by 20 stretched canvas. It's stretched, wrapped around, stapled on the back. I really like these canvases. They're nice because as we go, I'll try to remind you to paint your edges. And if you paint your edges, then you don't have to do anything else with it when you're done. You don't have to frame it. You don't have to do anything else. Your painting wraps all the way around, you're finished. You can frame it if you want, but you don't have to. Let's take a moment and decide, while we're talking about our canvas, this painting was done vertically. This was done portrait. You could flip it and go landscape if you want. That's up to you. Where are you going to put this when you're done with it? Do you have a special place on a bookshelf over top of your chair in your living room where it might go? Will that space better accommodate landscape? Think about it. Think about that before we get started. Okay, it's your painting. It's whatever you want it to be. Okay, I have a water cup to dip my brushes in. I like to use something heavy like a mason jar, or a coffee cup. An old coffee cup is always lovely. Something heavy, I'm less likely to knock it over. Halfway full with cool or cold water, never warm or hot. If you use warm or hot water, it does something funky to the paint. Okay, so cool or cold. For brushes tonight, I have my standard big fat brush, right? Just something big that we're gonna get a lot of coverage out of this guy. I'm gonna use him for the background. I'm gonna use him for the bottom. I might even use him for the leaves up in the trees. We'll see. I also have a medium brush. He's, I don't know, 1/4 inch-ish wide, but he's thin this way. Just some kind of a medium brush. Mine's a filbert, which means he's curved. Yours might be flat. And then I have a pointy brush. I'm going to use this one for my my skinny trees and some of my branches. My pointy brush is a number 5. You might have a 3, you might have an 8, up to you, 7 or an 8. I'm using a 5. That's what works for me. When I'm not using my brushes, they live in my water cup. So I'm going to take them, dump them in my cup, leave them there. When I'm done painting, I'll pull them out and I'll clean them all up and lay them flat to dry. But while I'm painting, I'll leave them in here so they don't get dried out. And that's a good reminder that when I'm done with the brush, he goes back in there with his friends. Okay. Paper towels. You need a couple paper towels underneath your water cup to dry your brushes off on. I always have a paint pen just in case. I like to sign my paintings at the end with a paint pen. I'm really bad at signing with a brush, so I always keep a paint pen just in case. You can sign with a brush at the end if you want. You can sign with a Sharpie on the back of your painting when you're done if you want. But I always keep one, I always keep it handy in my paint bag. Paint, let's talk about paint. So if you got paint from the studio, this is what you have. Oh, I just saw a question come across. I almost explained that and then I stopped. So let me explain that. The question came across, why do you lay the brushes flat to dry instead of standing them up? If you stand a brush up to dry, if you have paint residue, let's imagine this is the bristles. If you have paint residue in there and you stand it up to dry, over time that residue, that paint residue is going to come down in the bezel of the brush. Your bristles are going to flay out. So I'll wash mine when I'm done. I'll reform them, get them back to the shape they were, lay them flat to dry, and then later, when they're completely dry, I can store them standing up because water and paint residue isn't going to settle down in there and splay my brushes out. Good question. Okay, paint. So the paint that I have, and if you got paint from the studio, this is what you have. I gave you a lovely assortment. Blockout white, and then I like to put mine in the order of color wheel. So I have a bright yellow, a chrome orange, a bright red. We usually talk about the red. I'm not worried about it tonight. Whatever red you have will be fine. Blue, I have phthalo blue. I like phthalo blue because it's nice and dark and rich. I can use white and brighten it up, or I can leave it nice and dark if I want. It's got a wide range. I have phthalo green on my plate. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I may or may not use it. I don't know. I like to mix a little phthalo green with a little phthalo blue up in my sky to get a little turquoise-ish. Up to you, though. You may not need green at all. We'll see. Brown. My brown is a burnt umber. It's just like a milk chocolatey brown. And then Mars black. So those are the colors that I have that I'm going to play with tonight. Other things that you might have, I have a crumpled up paper towel, a random crumpled up paper towel. I might use this for the leaves in the tree. We'll see. I'm not sure, but I have it just in case. So extra paper towels are always good. I always keep sponges in my paintbrush too, in my paint bag. I might use this for some of the leaves. I don't know. I'll see what I'm feeling. I'll start with the brush because I know that's what we all have, but then we may, no pun intended, we may branch out. Sorry, I had to say it. So I've got those standing by just in case. Hey. All right. I say we get started. Just a minute here. All right, here we go. So let's look at our inspiration picture. Let's talk about how this is going to work. We always start furthest, not always, but most of the time, furthest away and top down for the most part. So furthest away is my sky beyond the trees, and it's kind of a darker blue up here, like a medium blue, and then gets lighter as we get down to the horizon line. The horizon line on this is about halfway. I might take mine a little lower. I don't like the idea of splitting my canvas exactly in half. I like to think more in thirds. In the art world, we usually think in thirds. So I might take my horizon line down a little bit. So we're going to start with that blue, and then we're going to get lighter and lighter and lighter, adding white as we get down to the horizon line. And then we're going to sketch in where our road is going to go, our path. We'll fill those sides in there. We'll fill our path in. Then we'll start putting some trees. Then we'll get some leaves on the ground. Then some leaves in the trees. It's about how we're going to approach this. Okay? All right, big brush. Let's start with that biggest brush. If you're starting with new brushes, tap, tap in the bottom of that cup. Tap, tap, tap. New brushes, when they come to the factory, they come with a starch on them to hold them stiff. You want to clean that out of there. I always do this with my old brushes because they usually have a little bit of paint residue left over in them. So I want to soften them up a little. All right, tap, tap, tap in the bottom. Dry it off on my paper towel. I always start with a damp brush, not drippy wet, just damp. And anytime I take paint, I'm always going to go in the edge of the puddle, never the middle. I don't want to mess the whole thing up. So always in the edge. I'm going to take a little swish of blue, just a little swish there. And right here in the edge of the white, a big old swish of white. I've got a big glob on there. I'm going to move that around on my canvas. So I'm going to start here at the top. I'm going to do, it's like an infinity symbol, but I'm not connecting, I'm not doing the wraparound on the edges. Okay. So again, we want to start with the darker blue, and then about 2/3 of the way down-ish, we want to get down to really, really, really light, about 2/3 of the way down. Okay, and edges, remember we said paint the edges so your painting wraps all the way around. Get all the way up on that tippy, tippy top. Okay, now I have that green on there. I'm really feeling turquoise. So while that's wet, acrylic paint will blend while it's wet. Once it's dry, it will not blend. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of green while it's wet. This is up to you. You decide not to. You may decide to stick with blue. But I think I'm going to swish a little bit of green in. Oh, that's pretty. And now as I head down canvas, I'm going to add white. A little less blue, a little more white. A little less blue, a little more white. And do you see how I'm blending? Let me show you. Tiny bit of blue, a lot of white. Anytime I want to blend, here's a close-up blending lesson. Anytime I want to blend, I start in my new section, and then I have to work up about an inch or so into my old section, back down into my new section, back up into my old section, back down into my new section. You can only blend acrylic paint while it's wet. So you have to work back up a little and then back down, back up a little and back down. I know blending is sometimes hard because people don't want to work back up, but you have to. You have to work up just a little bit. So again, we're going about 2/3 of the way down. And my goal is to get lighter and lighter, lighter as I go. So on the new, up to the old, back down to the new. Up into the old just a little bit, back down into the new. It's the romper room portion of the evening. I was just looking over to see who's there, who's here with us. There's Lori and Tawny, and I see Emily and Andrea. You see my people, all my people. I'm so glad you guys are here tonight to play. I know what painting does for my mental health, and I've received a lot of messages from people through this pandemic that painting is doing wonders for them, helping them get through this really tough time we're all going through. I feel the same way, my friends, the same way. Painting does amazing things for my mental health. Because if you know me, you know my mental health is shaky on a good day. It's no secret. Okay. Again, we're going about 2/3 of the way down. I think I've gone down further than I intended, but that's okay. I can always bring my ground back up a little. You want to make sure you go far enough. You don't want to make sure you come short and you have to bring your ground up too high. And edges, don't forget edges. There we go. So we'll take another, I don't know, another 5 or so minutes. I'll watch you over in the Zoom to see when people stop moving. That sounded morbid. I didn't mean it that way. But I will keep an eye on you in the Zoom so I know when it's time to move on. When you're done with your sky and you've got your edges, take that brush, put it in the water cup, leave him there so he doesn't dry out. So for those of you that haven't joined us before, this is your first time, welcome. I don't think I said this. My name's Shauna Sue. I own a Crooked Door Studio in Uptown Marysville. This past July 9th, we hit 5 years, which is super exciting, but we couldn't have a party. So we're gonna make probably, we're gonna have like a big 7-year itch bash party, I think. Oh, whose name wasn't said on Romper Room? Oh, Lori. My name wasn't either because nobody had the name Shauna Sue. So yeah, I was that kid that could never, I never got a keychain or I never got a coffee cup. I never got anything with my name on it. So for those of you, so you're welcome, Lori. So for those of you that haven't, this is your first time joining us, you will find there are random things we will talk about tonight. I'll have to check in and see what you're eating. If I see you eating food, I'll have to check in. You'll have to let me know what it is because I usually don't eat dinner till we're done. So my dinner happens like at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm always super curious to see who's eating what. And then chickens. So my chickens are doing really well. They're laying all different colored eggs. So at some point tonight, I will show you my chicken eggs. I have 30 chickens. Oh, 29. We're down to 29 and it's a good thing. We had 3 roosters and one of our roosters went to live with another family. So Vern has his very own flock of ladies, which is super exciting for him because he wasn't getting any of the ladies around here. So how about let's take 2 more minutes? 2 more minutes feels right. So my clock says 7:31. So when it's 7:33, we'll move on. Yeah, that seems right. That means I have 2 minutes to show you my eggs. Stand by. Okay, so we may or may not have gotten chickens based on the colors of eggs that they lay. I'm a city girl, city chicken. I'm a city chicken. I didn't know chickens laid different colored eggs. I didn't even know chickens laid brown eggs. They were always white from the grocery store. So now I have chickens that lay all different colored eggs. Aren't they pretty? This one's blue. It's like a turquoise. Aren't they gorgeous? And the different shades of green. This one even has speckles. So exciting. Anyway, somebody asked me if we sell our eggs. I'm like, no, if you need eggs, you let me know. I got you. Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, if you need eggs, I will hook you up because all my girls are coming in at once. So we're getting overrun with eggs. I got 8 yesterday. It won't long and we'll be getting about a dozen a day. Okay. So another minute. I know, Jessica, I never thought, I feel like I've told you this before, I never thought I'd be a bird mom. And here I am, a bird mom. I worry more about those birds. And I'm so happy Vern has a family. Vern has Vern's own ladies. Because Vern was getting the poop knocked out of him here by George. Okay. So I say we go ahead and move on. My clock says 7:33. Got my sky done. I've gone down a little further than I intended. That's okay. I'll just bring my ground back up a little because I wanted to go further than halfway. So maybe right about there-ish, maybe a little lower. We'll see. Let's take that big brush and clean it out. I'm going to tap, tap, tap in the bottom of the cup. It is the best being a bird mom. So tap, tap, tap in the bottom of the cup. I'm okay if there's a little bit of blue in there because I'm going to move on to orange and white next. And if I have a little bit of blue in my brush mixed with orange, it'll make things brown. That's okay. I'm okay with that. So clean it out, dry it off. And let's put our horizon line across there. So if we look at the original painting, it's actually up a little bit in the middle and swoops down ever so gently to either side. That's up to you. You can go straight across. You can swoop down a little if you want. I'm going to stitch it with orange. I've got my big brush cleaned out and dried off. I'm going to take a little bit of this orange. Remember, always in the edge. And I'm using my big brush, but I'm going to use the skinny ways to do my sketching. So where's my path going to disappear to? In the middle. Find the middle of my canvas, go down a little bit. About there. Some orange. That's my, my vanishing point for perspective, right? That's where my path is going to disappear. And then, again, this one swoops down a little bit on this side and a little bit on that side. Swooped a little too far on that side. We'll bring that back up. There we go. Pretty good. Looks like I have a big orange mustache, a skinny mustache. Okay, so once we have that, let's outline where our path is going to go. Ready? So my path, it has to vanish off into a point. It's going to disappear. All right, so I'm going to start here. But on this side, on my left side, it's going to come down to about 3 fingers off the bottom. So what if I put 3 fingers there and I mark it? Still using orange. And over here, about 2 fingers. I like to use my fingers to measure because that's a general measurement that just about everybody has, right? And then let's do some connecting. So still with orange. So up here, and this one's a pretty gentle swoop. This one has a lovely curve in it though. The right side has a lovely curve. Oh yeah, I'm feeling that. Are you feeling that? Feeling that. Okay. Now with orange and a tiny bit of white, little bit of white, let's fill in these sides. So this is under where my leaves and my trees are going to be. So I'm going to fill in that side and I'm going to fill in that side. My ground where my trees are going to live. So orange and a little bit of white, just a little bit. I'm gonna get my edges. So I want to thank everybody again tonight for coming to play. All the money that you sent me tonight for class, except for the cost for supplies, that money all goes to United Way. And I will, when we're done here, I'll give it a day or so because a couple people were mailing checks. So probably sometime next week, I'll be able to put out a final amount that we raised. I don't know what it is right now. Couple $100 anyway, which is super exciting. So thank you all for joining us tonight and helping raise money. If you would like to send a donation, if you haven't yet, if you'd like to send a donation for United Way, I put my Venmo and my PayPal for the studio, both in the chat box. Just put a note that it's for United Way, and I'll make sure it gets there. I'll make sure it gets added to the big chat. So those are in the chat box for Zoom if you want to copy and paste so you know where to donate. Okay. So let's take another minute and finish that. I'm going to clean my brush out. Oh, edges. Edges. I got this edge. Pretty sure I forgot that edge. Let's do that. It's always easier to try to do your edges now than it is to try to match them up later. So I'm going to step over here. Get this side. Oh, is anybody else struggling with flies right now? Flies are making me crazy. Ugh. You would think it's too cold. I know it's too cold. That's why they've come inside. But at the studio, I had flies. Here at home, I have flies. It's a problem. I love looking over, just seeing everybody working away. You guys are breathing, right? Oh, exhale. Deep breaths. So how about 5 minutes and we'll 4 minutes and we'll move on. It's 7:41. So at 7:45, we'll move on. Try to be respectful of everyone's time and give you updates for when we're moving on. The question usually comes up, do we need a blow dryer? I don't think we need a blow dryer tonight. I think by us going from top to bottom, back and forth, I don't know that we're gonna need a blow dryer tonight. Emily, have we had dinner yet? No, not yet. What are we having for dinner? Anything? Nothing? Is he starving you? Oh, rude, rude. Let me talk to him. I'll talk to him. I'll tell him. Oh, she's typing. Oh, she's typing. Oh, I feel that, you know? So our struggle here is I love chili, and this is chili weather, and I'm a chili traditionalist, right? Tomatoes, ground beef. You know, my husband usually brings me home Arby's on Friday nights, and it's cold by the time it gets here, so then I'm eating cold chili fries, and that just makes me sad. So traditional chili, right? Tomatoes, ground beef. Sometimes we'll put a little meatless meat in there. Oh, you DoorDash avocado. Sounds really good. Some beans, kidney beans, right? But my husband doesn't eat tomatoes. Oh, potato soup sounds good. My husband doesn't eat tomatoes because it flares up, the acid in the tomatoes flares up his arthritis. He has really bad arthritis in his hands, so he's cut out tomatoes. So now I'm like, I can make a pot of chili and do what with it? I need to get containers to freeze it. It just doesn't feel like home without chili. No, Tani, I saw you said something. Did I see your? No, I didn't. Did you talk food? I'm watching to see what you type. What? Was there food involved in your post? We have 2 minutes, by the way, 2 minutes, and we're going to move on. You know, potato soup sounds really good. And I'm not a big meat eater, but a little bit of bacon on that potato soup. I could be vegetarian, wouldn't have to try real hard, but there's something about bacon. Oh, chicken quesadillas. Oh, oh, chicken quesadillas sounds really good. So the private party, 1 minute, and we're going to move on. The private party I had at the studio just a little bit ago, it was only 6 people. The one that I was rushing to get here, they were heading down to, I never know the name of it. It's the Mexican restaurant that's like 2 doors down from the studio. It's like Fiesta Grande something. Casa Fiesta Grande. But I was like, oh, some dip. I could go for some cheese dip and chips, some refried beans. And it's 7:45. Let's move on to the next step. Okay, big brush. Let's talk about this really quickly. So if we look at this painting, the path is, do you like how I seamlessly just transitioned from food? So let's talk about a dirt path. So the path on this is a dark brown. The paint that we use, the paint that I'm using, and if you got paint for me, it's what you're using, is very transparent. It's student grade paint, which means it's really inexpensive, but it means it's kind of watered down a little bit. It's great to learn with because it doesn't cost a lot, but the pigment level is really low. So the brown is going to be really transparent. So I'm going to put a base of black under first, let that dry, and then put the brown back over top of it. And if you look in the edges, you can see there's little black shadows along the edges. I think that makes sense for how we're going to tackle this. So big brush with black. Let's fill this path in with black. So I'm going to take that big brush, clean it out, dry it off. And let's paint that path in black. It's funny, this painting, I can see the brush strokes in it, and it is anti what I would think. All the brush strokes in this go up and down. In my world, I would paint a path side to side. But this one, the brush strokes, it looks like they go up and down. So that's what we're going to do. That's the beauty of paint, right? It's the beauty of art. We always try different things, learn different things, experiment with different things. That's how we learn and grow as artists, right? Doing different things. Okay. So by the end of this step, our whole canvas should be covered. Some people will decide not to paint the bottom of their canvas. I would go ahead and paint it. We're here, we've got the paint, why not? If you have an easel like mine, you can pick it up and hang it so you can get to that bottom edge. You could just flip it around and paint that bottom, but we might as well, right? We're here, the mess is already out, let's paint that bottom edge. So again, just black. We're gonna let it dry and then we'll do some brown. But just black for now. And then I'm gonna hang it up so it'll dry. Here we go. And brush and water cup. The trees are gonna be next. We're gonna put all those black brown trees on there. Right, the ones nearest the furthest away on the horizon line, those are really skinny. They're just sticks. They're just skinny, dark brown, black sticks. And then the closer we get to the viewer, they start to get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And they set a little lower in this orange and a little lower and a little lower. Right, same thing on this side. They're really skinny back there along the horizon. And then if we start them a little down a little further on the canvas, they get a little bigger and a little bigger. So we'll start those in a few minutes. Give everybody a chance to get that black on there. Nothing fancy, just black. We'll put brown on it later. But while we're waiting to start those trees, I haven't said this yet tonight, so there will come a point that I will call this painting done. It usually happens right around 9 o'clock. And when I call this painting done, I'll give you an hour, exactly 1 hour, to finish up what you're working on and then to take a picture. I love to see you in the pictures. So a selfie of you with your painting, send that to me. Send it, private message it to Crooked Door Studio or email me. I'll go ahead and pop my email in the chat box so you can copy it and paste it. Make sure you copy it and paste it because it's a long email and my name is spelled weird. So copy and paste that email. So you can either private message a picture of you and your painting or email it to me. Every picture that I have at the end of the hour. So by, for example, 10 o'clock, I'll collage those together and put them out on social media as our group picture. Because if we were at the studio, we'd all get together at the end for a group photo, but we can't do that since we're not all together. But this is something we can do for our group photo. So I'll explain that all again later. But right now I'm going to take a minute while you're finishing up that black. I'm going to take a minute and put my email in the chat box on Zoom. Just looked at the chat box again and saw chicken quesadillas. That sounded like a winner. Oh, you know what we do since so many eggs? My husband he makes amazing breakfast quesadillas. Scrambled eggs, some veggies in there, a couple flour tortillas, and the butter, the infamous butter. So good. Love that butter. Okay, I think we're ready for trees. Are we ready for trees? Let's do this. Yes, yes. I see heads nodding. We're gonna do this. So again, 99% of the trees are just skinny. They go all the way up and off the top. It's just one line. There are no branches. The only trees that really have branches are these two big guys right here in front. The one on the left and the one on the right at the very edges. And those branches overlap everything. So let's start with these guys right along the horizon line. Leave that gap in the middle. Don't put a tree right in the middle of your path. And I'm going to use brown and a little bit of black. If I just use brown, it's going to be too transparent. I have to add a little bit of black to it to give it some weight. So let's take our pointy brush. So I'm using a 5 round. Clean it out, dry it off. And to get my paint to go further and be a little easier to work with, I'm going to thin it down just a tiny, tiny bit. So I have my brush out of the water cup. I'm going to dip the bristles back in and get a drip of water. And right here, right here in the edge of the brown and the black, I'm going to squish that around, thinning that paint down just a little bit. And that'll help it flow a little further if we thin it down just a tiny, tiny bit. So half brown, half black. Here in the edge. You know, this is really hard. I can't flip my plate because it'll make my paint run. Okay. And now, if we're really nervous about this, start over here at the edge where you know when we get those big trees on, we know those big trees will cover. So let's do a practice tree. So I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to hold it very vertical. Right? I'm not holding it like a pencil. I'm going to hold it like this, almost parallel to my canvas. I'm going to start on my horizon line and I'm going to drag it up and off. Got a little weird there in the middle. It's okay. That's why I'm starting over here where it's going to be covered. Let's try that again. Let me get a little closer. So I'm holding very parallel. All the way up and off. Oh, missed that. All the way up and off. If you're looking for numbers, I can't even begin to count how many trees are in there. If we're talking little stick trees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, looks like 15 on one side. And I'm talking, these are just the little stick ones that are right here along the horizon. That's a lot. You can get 15 in on one side? I don't know. We can try. Really skinny. I'm not worried about the bottoms of them. I'm going to camouflage the bottoms with a leaf litter on the floor. Some might crisscross over. There you go. So some of them started right on the orange, some of them went down. No more than about the width of my finger down into the orange. They didn't go, if they did go into the orange, they didn't go very far because these are those skinny, skinny trees that are right at the horizon line. And then I'm going to get some more paint thin down, get a little more water, back in the brown, a little bit of black. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just those skinny trees right now. We'll get bigger here in a minute. Just skinny trees for the time being. And know that as we do this, the majority of this is covered with all those beautiful leaves, right? So don't worry about what a lot of it looks like. But we have to have those in there so we know there are trees there, right? We have to have some background stuff happening. We have to have some place to put all those glorious leaves. Okay. So once I have all those little ones, I'm going to start to add, I'm going to come down a little further into the orange and add a couple more down in here that are a little bit bigger. Again, the further down you start them in the orange, the bigger they need to be. So I'm going to stick with my little brush for now. I might go to a, no, you know what the heck? I'm going to go to my medium brush, but I'm going to use it skinny ways. So my medium brush, again, he's about 1/4 of an inch wide, but I'm going to turn him and use him skinny ways. I'm not going to use him flat ways the way that you would think he's intended to be used. I'm going to turn him on edge and use him that way so he'll be skinnier. So brown, little bit of black to give it weight, and one here. And now the bigger my trees get, I do have to widen them out just a little bit, just a tiny bit at the base to give them. So I widened him out just a little, don't go crazy, but I widened him out just a little bit. So I'm going to do another one, I think, right here. So skinny ways, and then come back. Give him feet. Okay. And I talked about that brown being so transparent. You look right here, you can see right through that tree. I need to add a little more black to it to make it less transparent so you can't see through my tree. There we go. Little bit of black does the trick. I'm gonna put three on this side. I don't think I'm gonna put the big tree in yet. I think I'm gonna put some medium-ish trees over here on the other side. There's one over here that he's a decent sized medium tree. You see, I'm not even worried about what's happening up here because I know that's all going to be covered. My medium-ish trees, I'm going up and they're just kind of disappearing into nowhere because I know I'm going to cover all of that up there with leaves. And then when you feel fancy, it's time to put those big trees on there. So I'm going to start with my tree on the left. It kind of goes off the edge of the page there. So black, black and brown. I'm still using my medium brush. And he starts pretty far down here. He starts the furthest down, so he's one of the biggest. And I'm going to use that brush skinny ways. Up. Back down, making it a little thicker. And I need to give him, we'll give him feet. He needs his roots. Again, we can camouflage the roots with leaves here in a little bit, but we got to splay them out a little bit. And then this guy, he's gonna get a couple extra branches, and I'm gonna go to a smaller brush for that. So I'm gonna go back to my number 5 round, my pointy brush with brown and a little bit of black, and I want to give him a branch right here. Okay. There we go. Big arm there. Again, not worrying too much about up here. Another branch up here. Maybe he has another little brush that reaches over a little bit. There we go. Right. I move over to the other side. I'm going to take that pointy brush with just a little bit of white. It still has a little bit of black brown on it. And with tiny, tiny bit of white on his right side, I'm going to give him the idea of some highlights. So I'm just going to swish down that right side a little bit. Just a little bit of white. It's very subtle. And I'm doing it while that brown black is wet, so it blends. But just a little bit of swishiness right along that side, because the center here is our light source, right? That's our bright spot. So it would be shining light on the right side of this tree. So conversely, when we do the big tree over on this side, the light is coming from the center, and it's going to hit just that one side of the tree. You could even get in here your medium trees and give them little highlights on the correct side. So the trees on the left, the highlights are on the right. You can play and get as detailed as you want. Or you can leave them there fine the way they are, right? Okay. Thanks. I'm ready to head over to the big tree on the other side. I think I'm going to go back to that medium brush and then transition to my smaller brush when I'm ready for for branches. Get a few more highlights there. Okay, medium brush, round and flat. And the tree on that side has, on the right side, it has a lovely, lovely branches. It has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big branches off that main trunk. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, medium brush, brown, or black. And I'm gonna start at skinny ways. Use that medium brush, skinny ways. And I'm gonna do that the main, what's that called? Shooter on a tree? The main shoot, right? There's that main shoot. And then I can come back and start to thicken it up down here at the base. And come back up and give him another branch. Back and thicken him up a little more. I just kind of keep building on him as we go. So he's got 2. Back down to the bottom. Build him up a little more. Give him another branch. Ever so gently, making that trunk a little bigger each time. Just gonna keep going, just building that tree out. Okay. Feeling pretty good. Looks like a creepy hand. Not really what I intended. Creepy hand, creepy hand. Right there. Super weird. Okay. So again, not paying too much attention to these to where my branches just disappear, because that's all going to be leaves. But now this one's going to be fun when we start to add some highlights. Oh, am I frozen? Oh no. Why did I freeze? Oh no. Stand by. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but I'm frozen. Okay, stand by. Maybe now? Maybe? Okay. Oh, country internet. Oh, I'm real choppy. I'm sorry. Okay, hopefully it gets better. Fingers crossed. I'll move slow. Okay. There we go. So I have both big trees, both my big trees. And then I'm gonna get some highlights on this one over here with my pointy brush. And if you look at the original, there's actually like a little a little peekaboo hole in that tree that they did with just the highlights. So I'm going to do that. I think that's fun. Okay. I keep checking myself now on the laptop, making sure I don't freeze again. Sorry about that. Technology. So my highlight is on the left side of my right tree. So with my pointy brush, and then I'm going to give myself one of those little peekaboo hidey holes. That's fun. There we go. Just a little bit, very subtle. Oops, I added some highlights on these smaller trees. I think I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. There we go. Okay. So we'll take another minute and finish up those trees. And then I think we're going to go ahead and put some brown in the path. Yep, I keep looking at the painting to be sure. So we're going to put some brown over that black path. That'll give our trees time to dry. So we can go up to our trees then and put our leaves, giving our path time to dry. And then we'll be able to go down and get some leaves down here in the ground. So that's how we're gonna finish this out. Okay. All righty. Oh, technology's weird, isn't it? We've learned so much about technology during COVID. Learned things we never thought we'd need to know, right? Mm, 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 mm. Okay. So I'm feeling, I shouldn't say feeling pretty good about my trees. They look kind of weird. It looks like a burnt forest at this point, but it looks the way it should look at this point, like a burned out forest. So I'm going to leave those alone, let those dry. You might take a moment before we move down into the path. Look and see if you have any wet rolls of paint. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to look at it at an angle. I have a couple spots of thick paint. I'm going to smooth those out just with my fingers so they'll dry a little faster. And that's about it. Because what I don't want to happen when I go to put that brilliant yellow, orange, red on there, what I don't want to happen is to get into wet black paint. So if you have a thick roll of paint, smooth it out a little bit so it'll dry. So now let's head down to the path, and with that dark black base, we should be able to just put brown right back over it. So I'm going to go back to my big brush, clean it out, dry it off, and with just that brown, oh yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And you can decide, I like in this how they left little black, little darker along the edges of the path. I might do that. I might not take the brown all the way out. That's up to you. It's whatever your path looks like in your world, right? So I'm going to start in the middle and work my way out to the edges. So it gets thinner as I get out to the edges. And you're going to find where you pick up and put your brush down, you're going to leave marks because that paint is so transparent if you're using what I'm using. So you have to do long brush strokes, right? Long, smooth brush strokes. My brown is pretty thin. I think I'm okay with that. I kind of like that. That you can see some of the black through underneath. Yeah, I might leave that the way it is. I dig that. Something that I'm noticing on the original that I'm not sure I want to tackle, it looks like they put a nice bright white spot there at their vanishing point, right where their path disappears in the sky right there. They have a nice bright white spot. I'm thinking about it. I'm just not sure. So what I might do, and this is totally optional, you may decide you don't want to do it. I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. So let's learn from my mistakes, right? I'm going to take my medium brush, clean it out, dry it out really, really well. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of white and I'm going to do some dry brushing. There isn't hardly, it looks like a lot, but there's not hardly any paint on this brush at all. And I'm going to, I'm just kind of scribbling a little. I wish you could hear it because it really is just like a dry brush. There's not hardly any paint on there, but it's giving me that bright white spot right there where my path disappears. Tiny, tiny bit of paint. Nice and bright. There we go. Okay. Nah, I don't know that that did anything for me. You can do it if you want. Just it looks like the original. They just got it nice and bright white right there in the middle. Yeah, I think I'm all right the way mine is. Okay. So we're going to let the brown dry down here on our path. It's time to head up into the sky. So I think the way I'm going to tackle this is where if you have a crumpled up paper towel or a sponge, or man, I love a big old brush that's seen better days that is really splayed out. Those are fun to use. Let's start. We've talked a little bit about the paint being very transparent, right? The only solids that we have are black and white. So for me to get bright yellow, I'm going to have to add white to it. So I've been thinking all day about how we're going to tackle this. Are we going to start with the red and work our way in? Or are we going to start in here with the yellow and work our way out? I think I'm going to start with the yellow and work my way out. So I'm going to start with yellow and white, because if I don't add white to the yellow, I'll get green, because behind the yellow, you'll see the blue. Blue and yellow make green. So you have to add a little bit of white to the yellow to make it nice and bright. And then we'll transition over into some orange and a little bit of white. And by the time we get to the red, we won't use white anymore. We'll just have red. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. I think I'm going to tackle one side at a time so I can get a blend. Okay, so you might want to, at this point, take an extra paper towel or an extra paper plate and figure out what you might use. Let's do a little experimenting. So if I use my big old brush, clean it out, and dry it off, you know what? Let's take like a 3-minute break. Let's go get clean water. I'm gonna have a hard time using this brush with clean yellow and white and not having it look dingy because my water's so dirty. So let's take 3 minutes. Let's go rinse out, get clean water, rinse your brushes out, and come back here. Remember, cool or cold, never warm or hot. I'll see you back here in 3 minutes. Okay. So another 2 minutes. Let's make sure we've got everybody back. I've got clean water, clean brushes. And another minute when we're sure everybody's back, we'll do a little practice. We'll see how we feel about what our leaves are going to look like, what technique we're going to use. And instead of just doing it straight on the canvas, let's do a little practice. Ooh, makeup brush. That's a good one because a makeup brush is nice and splayed out, right? That's fun. That's a good idea. I know people ask me at the studio while we're waiting our 1 more minute, people ask me at the studio, or used to when we were there, why I don't like go through brushes and throw away old brushes. Man, I love old brushes because you can do some fun stuff with an old brush that's all kinds of splayed out. Okay, so 8:26, here we go. That's our 3 minutes. So let's try a couple different things. So I'm gonna start with my big brush and see how I feel. I'm gonna take some yellow and some clean white. And what do I think? What are those gonna look like? Are they gonna be little swishes? Oh, you know, I kind of like that. There's a lot of paint involved. I'm just kind of laying it, just kind of laying my brush down, dragging just a little. Oh, I like that. I think that might be what I do right off the bat. Sponge, oh, through a sponge, through it. You could use a sponge. You could use a paper towel if you want. Just wad it up and get yourself a nice stomper. I just have a paper towel, just wad it up in my hand, and that would give me a lovely stomper. I'm gonna try that. Go into some orange and see how that makes me feel. Ooh, ooh, see, I kind of like that. Oh man, I might use paper towel. That's fun. So you guys will have to experiment and see what works for you. So I'm going to take that brush and put it in the water cup because I really do think I like the I like the crumpled up paper towel. I thought I liked the brush, but I really think I like the paper towel better. Okay, so again, just wadding it up in my hand, give myself a little stomper. So I'm gonna start with yellow and white. And I'm gonna start here on the left side. So I'm gonna start close to the middle. And I'm gonna come over, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 finger widths. So some yellow, some white. Oh, I need more white because it looks kind of green. If I add a little more white, it'll make that yellow a little more solid, a little more opaque. And I'm going to keep the concentration up high and a little less as I go down because I don't want to cover my tree legs. I almost called them my tree legs. I don't want to cover my tree legs completely. My you know, trunks. Ooh, words are not happening tonight. Okay. Little yellow down there. Okay, I like that paper towel. That's fun. Don't want to lose my blue there in the middle, so I'm going to stop. And I think I'm going to go right with that yellow and white on that paper towel. I'm going to go right into a little more white and a little bit of orange. I'm not getting new paper towel. I'll get new paper towel when I move over to the other side. But for now, I'm going to go straight into orange. Oh, that's pretty. Go over into your yellow just a little. Oh, this is fun. This is almost like finger painting, right? Then when you're ready, transition into red, finish it out with red. But when you finish it out with red, it's okay to leave a couple little pockets of blue show here and there. Don't feel like you have to cover the whole thing with red. And make sure you don't have any white in your paper towel mess, if that's what you're using, or your brush, or whatever you're using, because the littlest bit of white will turn everything pink. So I'm going to make sure I don't have any white on my paper towel. And I'm going to go right into, right into red. Oh, that's pretty. Making sure every now and then to tap over into that orange a little to get a little bit of a blend. And again, don't lose your blue completely back there. Leave a couple little pockets because you would naturally in your tree, right? You'd naturally be able to see through your leaves a little. Oh, that is pretty. It's funny too, you have to know when to stop so you don't like completely lose everything. So I'm going to stop. And I'm going to hold my paper towel in a different way. Get a clean fold and head back over to the other side. Do the same thing again, yellow and white. And then start to move into a little bit of orange and white, and then orange, and then red. I'm so excited to see what you guys are doing. If you're using paper towel or if you're using brush. Oh, so pretty, Terry. So is that the makeup brush? Uh-huh, with the makeup brush. Well done. That looks really good. So clean that brush out and hang on to it because we might use that down in the bottom for your leaf litter on the forest floor, right? Yeah, hang on to that. Okay. I stopped talking because I'm having so much fun doing this. I really like this. Mine, it's really messy, but it makes sense. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. If I look at it, if I stand and I look at my painting and I go, wow, that is really messy. But I turn and I look at it in the picture on my phone, it's pretty cool. So this is my reminder to you as I'm finishing out my red over here to get away from your painting every now and then. Take a picture of it on your phone. If you're not sure you like the direction it's going, take a picture of it on your phone and don't look at your actual painting. Look at your picture. Your phone will, it'll adjust. It'll like pump up the contrast. You'll see it differently on your phone than you will in real life. And that's usually how I know if I'm done or what I need to change or if I have gaps. Anyway, that's something I do. Take a picture on my phone and take my eyeballs off of the actual painting for a minute because you'll see it differently on your phone. Okay, take another minute or so. Oh, that's fun. I need a little. Don't forget to get some little bits falling down. Little bits. Little leaves falling down every now and then. And we talked about wrapping your color around, right? Painting your edges. So are you going to wrap your leaves around and paint the edges of your canvas? It's up to you. It's your painting, right? Think about it. Oh, you guys, we're close to done. We're getting there. We just have to put some leaf litter on the bottom. So when you get there, when you're ready to put your leaf litter on the bottom, I'm really digging this paper towel. I think I'm going to do the same thing. To the best of my knowledge, it appears maybe orange and a tiny bit of red. You could use all three colors if you wanted down in the bottom. You could have some that overlap onto your path. If you're going to do leaves that have blown onto your path, it's important to do them in really flat ovals that are parallel to the bottom. Does that make sense? They come out, they're very parallel to the bottom. So this, it's almost like a finger that comes out, that little leaf pattern right there. These over here are too, they're very parallel to the bottom. They just kind of come out and back. So let's do that. I'm going to take the same paper towel with the red that's on it, and I'm going to go into some orange. And you might have to add a tiny bit of white out onto your road. Tiny, tiny bit. Because if you don't add that little bit of white, you'll be able to see that black brown through. So you might have to add just a tiny, tiny bit of white. I don't want to add much because I don't want my leaves all turn pastel. But you might have to add a little bit of white. Maybe a little yellow white. But do you see how I'm creeping those leaves out onto the path? They look like fingers that are parallel to the bottom. I have some leaves down here that have blown into my road. Maybe some down here that are blown into the road. So fun. Oh, I had a tree that was still wet. Oh, no. That's got some brown leaves in there. Had a wet tree. But I'm going to refold my paper towel so I don't spread that mess. Okay, leaves on both sides. Use those leaves to camouflage the bottoms of your trees a little bit. And again, I'm using orange, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, all my leaf colors. If I come over into the road, I'm going to add a teeny bit of white, just a teeny, teeny bit. Okay. Right up at the base of that tree. There we go. All right, I'm going to have to stop or I'm going to overdo it. I like to identify when I've overdone it, when I've already overdone it. I like to go one step past and then go, oh crap, I've overdone. So before I overdo, I think I'm going to stop. Because as I look at the picture on my phone, I feel pretty good about that. That makes me happy. So I think I'm going to call it. I feel pretty good with where I'm at. So the last thing that you'll want to do, the last thing every artist wants to do is sign their paintings. It's lovely if you sign on the front. I have a nice, usually bottom right or bottom left with my black paint pen. I have a lovely spot right there at the swoop of my road that I might sign this one tonight. Your artist signature is whatever you want it to be, right? Mine is S blah, 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 for my last name. And then I usually do a little tick and a 20, just so I know that that's when this was created, was in 2020. If you don't want to sign on the front, you can take a Sharpie or a paint pen and sign on the back. If you sign on the back, sign out here, never ever here. Oh, see the black on the back of my canvas? Every now and then I'll get canvases that are damaged and I'll get them for really, really dirt cheap, if not free. This is something to know if you have a canvas, something you've already painted that has a hole in it, because this is just cloth. It's really easy to get a hole in it. A little bit of duct tape. Little bit of duct tape and you never even know it's there. So anyway, but yes, make sure if you're going to sign the back, sign out here, not here. You don't want it to bleed through. So with that, I am going to go ahead and take my pink pen and sign this and call it done. And then I will stop the recording and then give everyone, I'll give you the chance to unmute yourself. We can talk amongst ourselves for a little bit. But before we leave, before we end, don't forget to send me a picture of you with your painting by 10 o'clock. That way I can collage them all together. And I'll put the finished collage out on Crooked Door Studio, Facebook and Instagram. Go. All right. So for the video portion of this evening, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight for Painting Through the Pandemic to support the United Way of Union County. Thank you. Good night. Okay. Okay. Record. It still says we're recording. Stand by.